All right, let's dive right in. Today we're looking at two totally different ways of getting to the truth. You've got the polished, super serious, high-stakes intelligence report on one side. And on the other, you have the messy, emotional, totally unfiltered chaos of online conversations. Two worlds, one reality. Let's get into it. So first up, let's look at that filtered world. This quote, wow, it comes from a cybersecurity vet in Mexico. And it's describing a government that's so tangled up with the cartels that it's allegedly making life-or-death calls just to save face. It's clean, it's analytical, and it is absolutely bone-chilling. And now, let's do a complete 180. This is from a late-night chat in a social media space. This isn't some intelligence analyst. This is a guy named Alberto, and he's just spent. He's talking about the sheer emotional weight of being in these online communities 24/7. It's so raw, so personal, and honestly, the stakes feel just as high. And that really brings us to the big question we're tackling today. Where do you find the real story? Is it in the super clean, top-down report about systemic corruption? Or is it found in the messy, chaotic, deeply human stuff from the ground up? That's what we're here to figure out. Okay, first section. Let's really get into the anatomy of how trust just shatters. We're going to look at it from two angles. When a massive system lets you down, and when it's a single person, face-to-face, who deceives you. You know, when a huge system betrays our trust, it's rarely an accident. It's a choice. Take the massive OPM data breach in the US. The source material we're looking at claims this wasn't just some screw-up. No, it was a deliberately sloppy move, almost designed to be so confusing that nobody could ever be held accountable. And here's how they supposedly built what our source calls an accountability sinkhole. It's not one thing, it's a whole recipe for disaster. You rush the migration, you give everyone the same admin login, which is just insane. You let untrained people have access. I mean, each one of these steps makes it practically impossible to figure out who's to blame. It's like a masterclass in how to make a mess so big no one can pin it on you. But here's the thing, you don't need to be a government agency to see this kind of betrayal. In these wild, unfiltered online spaces we're talking about, these crises of trust happen all the time. And a lot of the time, it all centers on just one person who turns out not to be who they said they were. So let's look at this character, Bob Terry. The story goes, he shows up in this online community with this amazing resume, White House credentials, talking about game-changing cybersecurity tech. Sounds great, right? But then, over a few months, he starts asking for money. But he never actually shows anyone his tech working live. The community starts getting suspicious, the stories don't add up, and eventually, they just kick him out. And this is the aftermath. This quote comes from someone in the community who had tried to help the guy, and you can just feel the anger, the sense of being personally violated. It just goes to show you it doesn't matter if it's a government agency or one guy in a chat room, the sting of betrayal feels exactly the same. Of course, all this broken trust, it has real consequences. And in both of these worlds, the filtered and the unfiltered, you can measure that cost in actual human suffering. We're talking physical danger and a massive psychological toll. Let's go back to that intelligence from Mexico for a second, because that's where we see the physical danger, plain and simple. For the people who are actually trying to expose corruption, the threat is very, very real. There was a Secretary of Public Security who was trying to fight cartel influence, and he kept telling his own government, I need more protection. They denied his requests. This number right here, level 3, that was the armor rating on the car the government gave him, the car he was assassinated in. He knew it wasn't enough, he begged for more, and the very system he was trying to protect basically decided to let him die. For the person who wrote the report, this wasn't just a tragedy, it was proof of deliberate, politically motivated negligence. Now, in the unfiltered online world, the danger is a little different, but believe me, the cost is just as real. It's this constant, relentless grind of arguments, drama, and just emotional exhaustion, and it absolutely wears people down to the bone. And here's Alberto again. Listen to this. He's talking about a day where he just couldn't get a word in. Everyone was talking over him, nobody was listening. You can just hear the complete and utter burnout in his voice. That feeling of being totally isolated, that is the human cost of living in these spaces. So what do you do when you're facing these huge systemic betrayals and these really personal deceptions? How do you even begin to protect yourself? Well, our sources point to two completely opposite approaches. One relies on the cold, hard logic of code, and the other relies on messy, complicated human connection.
So on one side, you've got your algorithmic defense. This is all about building systems that run on unbreakable math. The code doesn't care about your feelings. It just follows the rules. And on the other side, you have human defense. And that's all about people, building community, earning trust, and actually working together.
A perfect example of that algorithmic defense is something called a cryptographic wipe. It's actually really simple. Your device gives you, say, 3 tries to put in your password. If you get it wrong a 3rd time, the device doesn't just lock you out. It basically performs brain surgery on itself and erases the one key that can unlock your data. It becomes a paperweight. And this isn't just some theory. The source tells this story about a guy who had his crypto hardware wallet stolen. The thieves tried to guess the PIN, they failed 3 times, and poof, the device wiped itself clean. The assets were safe. In the end, the math was stronger than the thief. The cold, automated rule just won. But then you look at the unfiltered spaces, and their defense systems look completely different. It has nothing to do with code. It's all about people. They protect themselves by vetting new people, like they eventually did with Bob Terry. They work together on passion projects, like a security system they're building called Immune OS. They actually build friendships and support each other. And this quote just nails it. Their security isn't something you can buy off a shelf. It's a shared mission. It's something they're all building together because they all know they need it. It comes from that very trust that's always being attacked. So after all this, what's the big takeaway? It's really easy to look at all the drama and the chaos and the exhaustion in these unfiltered online worlds and just write it all off as noise, right? Especially when you put it next to a clean, professional intelligence report.
But here's the thing. The whole point of the source material is that the chaos isn't noise. Not at all.
That chaos, that messy, frustrating, emotional reality, that is the proof of work. That's the hard, grinding effort it takes to actually understand what's going on. It's where you find the human motivations, the real psychological costs, and the desperate search for trust that drives all those abstract threats we read about in polished reports. And that really just leaves us with this final question to think about. If you really want to be well-informed, what easy, polished, comfortable sources are you willing to give up to get to the messy, complicated, but maybe more honest truth? Something to chew on.